This is my November trading recap. I'm Manir, also known as Ghostal Trades on Twitter, and I also run Unbiased Trading, an agency where we can backtest and automate your strategies. Now, as per usual, these videos are a bit more ranty. They're simply me going over my performance primarily for myself. However, I hope you can learn something as well from my trading performance over the month, and you can also maybe take away some of the mistakes or lessons that I've learned over this month, and then hopefully apply it and improve on your own trading as well. Lastly, as a disclaimer, this is all based on my own relative capital size. If I try to, run a $1 billion hedge fund with these sort of strategies that I'm currently running, most likely I would be crippled by slippage and different other kind of market impact theory, for example, and maybe even commissions. So keep this as a relative that this is just based on my particular account size. Now, first, let's go over my small cap trading. I have been, to be completely truthful, slowly taking less and less kind of small cap trades. I've just been focused on other things at the moment, primarily my futures algorithmic trading. I've also this month been, deploying some crypto strategies as well, just because the market's been just in a perfect regime since the election, and there's a lot of edge there. Obviously, there's other risks as well with crypto, but it has been a really favorable market recently. So I didn't take that many small cap trading. Now, all my small cap trades are taken manually, but they're all based on a systematic strategy that I've been running for the past 2.5 years, or actually closer to 3 now, I guess. So as you can see, the overall profit was 4,588. This was an okay month for me. To be honest, this is kind of a plateau, and primarily it's because I didn't take that many trades, first off, and second, a lot of the month, at least for me, I've talked to some other small cap traders as well, and they seem to have performed decently well. Obviously, there was the crazy scare of PGHL, which we'll get into in just a second. But overall, at least for me, for my particular strategy, it kind of plateaued. It didn't really take too many trades, and also not many of the trades were winners. As you can see, my win rate was only 50%, which is down around 15 to 20% from the kind of median average. But we can see a lot of the profits came from this one ticker, SBAI, which was around $381, which is awesome. It made up a lot of the month. To be honest, until the ender of this month, I was kind of expecting it to be a red month or break-even month, and then I had that amazing fade on that, and it kind of made up a lot of the profits. Now, to get into the absolute terrifying event of PGHL, this was the chart. As you can see, it opened up, and then we got a halt, and then it was just crazy. Now, this kind of goes into one message I'd like to say with small caps, and it also, I think, generally applies. There's a reason why edges are sometimes more obvious. The more obvious the edges, normally there's more underlying risk, at least from my experience. So for example, in small caps, right, there's a lot of edge in small caps. The data for it is pretty obvious. You can make, amazing money. People have made millions with small caps. However, there is the underlying risk that you have halts, you have crazy sort of commissions in the sense of short locates and things like that, which, accompany that edge. And normally, from my experience, just as that edge is more obvious, there's going to be more underlying risks or risks in other different ways, such as, like, for example, these sort of halts, which could just blow up your account and there's nothing you could really do. Now, obviously, some people didn't get blown up because their brokerage didn't automatically take them out, and they could hold it, throughout this down move. But if that didn't happen, this could wipe out pretty much anyone. I don't see how this wouldn't wipe out most accounts. So this is just a warning around small caps, and this even applies with crypto. And when I'm deploying crypto strategies, my risk sizing is also dependent on that, because I know there can be brokerage issues with crypto. There's obviously tons of different ways you can mess up a transaction and things like that on crypto, and there's no way you're going to ever get that back. It's not like you're going to contact a brokerage and they're going to be able to refund you something like that. So yeah, there's always underlying risks, especially when the edge is more obvious, at least from my experience. Now let's get into my futures algorithmic trading. This month was a beautiful month, to be honest. I did around 17.95% on my particular capital. It was running 10 strategies. However, only 9 of them actually took trades. This month, compared to last, it's a lot more even. I would say it's a lot more balanced out for net profit across the strategies. We still do have one primarily bigger winner, which was 6% return out of the 9 strategies. However, for the most part, everything else was quite even. We had one big loser of 4%, but everything else was pretty good. The drawdown was excellent this month. I'm used to having a 10%, maybe even more sometimes, depending, drawdown on the month, just because I'm a bit more risk orientated, at least in futures. And this month was only 4.3% for almost an 18% return is just amazing. So absolutely, phenomenal month, at least in performance wise, from how I look at it. Overall, we took 293 trades. Now, keep in mind, this is all algorithmic. I didn't actually ever place an order. All I ever do is turn on the strategies in the morning and also check. I'll have alerts for risk controls throughout, all days, but normally I'm checking performance most of the time, end of day or end of week. Personally, at least I just try and not touch it really at all, because the number one sin you can do when deploying these sort of strategies is touching it too soon and then changing your parameter values or adding new parameters, things like that, just because you saw some sort of recency bias. Next, we're going to show you just how it has differed between long only and short only. As you can still see, primarily I'm getting a lot of these returns on the long side. I did a bit better this month with the short side. I was about break even, to be honest, with performance. Primarily, a lot of these returns have just come from long. And that also is evident with how the NQ market sort of traded recently. We did have we had a couple of days, I guess, of amazing downward moves, and I didn't really capture on any of those, at least on my strategies. However, we captured a lot of this, and that kind of built up a lot of those returns for the month, and we also kind of captured some of these bounces around here. Now, for trade duration, I actually got someone to DM me, and they were asking, what does my trade duration kind of look like for these strategies? As you can see, it's sort of well dispersed. There's a concentration here, obviously, on 5-minute. Normally, I'm never taking off positions within a minute for any of these strategies. So a lot of these strategies always are running on I would say above a 10-minute, but I guess sometimes it could take an exit, below 5 minutes or so. So we can see there's a concentration here, at least for this month. There was about 30 trades that took off at 5 minutes. And then the rest are more, around the 1 hour, 4 hour kind of mark. And that's more standard, at least for the strategy I sort of deploy. Some are holding even past end of day. Now, that's not that many of strategies, and they do have lower risk. Lower position sizing. However, there are a couple. So you can see here, one held for 4 days, 1 day, 22 hours, etc. Now, some just general notes. Obviously, a lot of this I've already recapped, but it was amazing to achieve around an 18% return. And the most important thing here, really, for me, was that amazing drawdown of being constrained to only 4.31%. So really amazing performance this month, and looking overall at it. The win rate also for the strategies was quite high. It was at 62%, which I'm quite happy with, to be honest. And that also is quite transparent with the kind of lower drawdown, just because I was winning more across this month, which isn't as normal with these 9 active strategies. As I mentioned before, we had the best performer with 6.23% with an excellent profit factor of 2.21. Obviously, one strategy struggled, but I think that's always going to be a lesson, is if you're running a collection of strategies, you kind of want to see that one of them is underperforming and one of them is really performing in that month, because most of the time, depending on the month and how many other factors go into it, you're going to have either a trending month, kind of choppy month, or it's going to be a mix in between. So those different strategies are going to take advantage of those times at different times. So if it's a mean reversion strategy, it's going to do amazing when it's choppy. If it's trend following, then it's going to do amazing when it's trending, for example. Now, as you can see, the most active system took 83 trades in the month, which compared to last month, I'm actually quite happy with the amount of trades that were taken. It didn't go absolutely crazy this month, and also I was able to filter out some things, so I did actually lower my overall commissions as well, which also, gave probably a 0.5 to maybe 1% boost in this return, which kind of brought it up to 18%. Now, things I'm going to try and keep on working on is to improve my risk-adjusted returns. The metrics overall are okay. They're, positive on all of them. However, I primarily am going to do this by adding more strategies. There's actually a whole conversation by Ernest Chan and also some other people on Twitter kind of tuned into it as well, around, you can either try to improve your Sharpie ratio on those strategies, or you can simply add more strategies, and that can improve the overall Sharpie ratio of your portfolio. Personally, I'm more in the camp of that I'm going to keep on adding more strategies, primarily for diversification and also for that kind of line of thinking of improving overall returns. So I'm going to try and get this up to around 15 strategies. That won't be done by the end of this year. I've added already, I think this year, maybe I think it's about 4 or 5 I've added already this year, which has brought it up to the current 10. So probably by end of year, or maybe be 11, maybe 12 if I'm lucky. And then for the next year, I think it's going to be the kind of goal to get up to around 20 strategies, all running algorithmically. If any of you are interested, the platform I actually run my future strategies on is on NinjaTrader 8. They aren't flawless, but they are a really good platform overall for what I've been using it for over the past couple of years. There's also some other great options, like Sierra Charts is also an amazing one. And also I know a lot of people use TradeStation. That can also be great. And also if you want, you can just go straight through interactive brokers. However, I think for ease of use for backtesting, optimizing, and also just running all the strategies at once, I think NinjaTrader 8 does a pretty good job of that as well. But anyway, that recaps my performance over November. I hope your performance was amazing as well. And if it wasn't, the worst months for me have always had the biggest lessons that have then led, maybe in 4 to 5 months later to some of the biggest months I've ever had. And also always keep things in perspective. I know many traders that are crushing me on a percentage wise simply because they're more allocated in crypto right now. And I will probably do way better than them when crypto is more in a kind of drawdown or bearish state, right? But probably for the next year or two, they're going to do really good. And that's also why I'm allocating to crypto as well. Now, if you want an update on what I'm doing with crypto strategies and how I'm using the lessons I've learned from futures and small caps and building strategies overall and then deploying them in crypto, I'm actually sending out a couple of emails, just kind of going through some of my thought processes on it and what I've been working on. If you want to get onto my email list, you can download the backtesting cheat sheet in the description. But anyway, apart from that, have a great Thanksgiving.